Hello, my name is Paz. I'm a respiratory therapist at night and a wardrobe stylist and a fashion creative during the day. Turns out, I'm not the only one in the medical field who pursues their passion. In celebration of Respiratory Care Week, I'll be talking to my incredible colleagues who are healthcare heroes and also artists and entrepreneurs in their own right. This is my Peeps. Larry is a retired respiratory therapist for 34 years. He worked at Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara for a year with adults. According to Larry, yuck, end quote. Moving on, he worked 33 years at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, then left for disability and retirement. Now he enjoys spending lots of time with his wife and dogs. Since retiring, he's been doing his favorite hobby, fishing, as much as he can. He's also doing lots of cooking, lost 65 pounds, and reached his Weight Watchers goal. He's off 3 out of 4 health medications and feeling great.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Peeps, where I ask respiratory therapists questions about their clinical lives and their life outside work. So as we end the Respiratory Care Week, I'm saving the best for last. My next guest is somebody who finally hung his scrubs and stethoscope for 34 years after working as a therapist. And he's now officially retired. And I want everybody to meet Larry. Yay!
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Larry. Thank you I know I've been bugging you the whole week about this, but thank you so much for taking your time.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So let's take back and talk about if you had a previous career before entering respiratory and how you came across about the respiratory therapy job.
Well, that's kind of almost funny story. I worked in physical therapy. I was a PT tech and a traction tech.
Oh.
And what kind of drew me to that, I volunteered in junior high school to do some physical therapy work.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So that kind of drew me to becoming a physical therapist. So I was working. I applied to school for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I was never a real serious student.
Oh.
And grades were never quite good enough. And I was always one of the last 50 that got the interviews, and the deciding factor was always down to my grades that got kicked out. And so one day, it was the third year I had applied to physical therapy, and I ran into somebody that I knew as a patient in there. And I was feeling all depressed, and she asked me what's going on. I told her I just got turned down to physical therapy school. And she told me, oh, well, have you ever thought of respiratory therapy? And I didn't even know what it was. All I knew, I ever saw the RTs pushing around the old PR2 IPBB machines around the hospital. I had no interaction with them. And so she sent me over to the school to talk to the director, talked to him about 15 minutes. And he said, okay, you're in.
Wow.
And I said, oh, great. When does school start? He said, in 2 weeks. But I was working. I think I diverted, actually worked. So I was working at the time, actually, for the Easter Seal Society, driving a van, driving handicapped people around. So I had to go back there to my boss. She was a wonderful old lady. And I told her, oh, I got into school. And she was so thrilled and happy for me. She said, when does school start? I said, 2 weeks. Her jaw dropped. Like, oh my God, I got to find somebody. But it was kind of by accident that I came into RT.
Oh, I feel like most of the people in art in the in respiratory were also like that. Like I also came across accidentally respiratory through a family friend. So it was one of those things that our profession is not really out there. It's not like nurses or doctors. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a nurse. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor. Nobody wants to grow up and be a respiratory therapist.
Yeah, I never knew what they were.
Yeah, but we both love the practice and everything.
I do. I did.
Yeah. So being a veteran in the field, what are some of the challenges that you've seen over the course of time?
Well, the challenge is trying to, well, my first job was in Cottage Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, as a respiratory therapist, we had zero responsibility, we were not able to make any decisions on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there day to day with the patients, taking care of them. And we pretty much knew what they needed. We knew what ventilator changes they needed or what. And it was weird at the time. Every single change we ever made had to come from a doctor's order.
Mm-hmm.
And what we had to do is go to the chart, and we had to leave a sticky note on the chart.
Sticky note.
And wait until the doctor saw that
Uh-huh.
to make changes and get orders.
Uh-huh.
We weren't even able, there were no calling the doctors, and it was really strange. So things have really come a long way
Oh,
but
yeah.
that was a big challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Now we're very technological advanced, not only, the ventilators and other medical devices that we use, but with the phone, at work now, we can just send a message to a doctor if we need an order like that, instead of having like a sticky note, and we'll get an answer in the next 5 to 15 minutes.
Right. And we had protocols. We were able to make a lot of changes on our own.
Oh,
you can make decisions now.
Mm-hmm.
Where years ago we weren't able to make those decisions.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of autonomy going on. Do you think? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, for me, when I was in respiratory school, we were still using the IPPV.
Right.
So it was just all those medical devices, like I mentioned, that they're phasing it out now, and they're replacing it with more advanced technology, which I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit more when you were a night supervisor, how I met you first at Children's Hospital. How long were you a night supervisor? Do you recall?
I think it was probably about 28 to 30 years of my career.
Wow. And all those was night shift?
Started out on evening shift. We were 8-hour shifts.
Oh, okay.
And so when I first started there, I was working 3 to 11. And that's when I became a lead. And actually, I had left CHLA for a little while.
Oh.
I went to work, I forgot all about that. I went to work at Loma Linda.
Oh.
And that didn't last real long. It wasn't quite the place for me. But I think you probably noticed at CHLA, I used to say, they all come back.
Yeah, that's true. It's still true.
If you leave because there's something you don't like, you go somewhere else to find that, and then something else you took for granted you don't get.
That's true.
Probably 80% of people who leave come back.
That's true.
But I had been called back by the director of CHLA at the time, Joel. He called me back, and he said he's going to. That was the reason I wanted 12-hour shifts, because of my long commute.
Oh.
I drove 75 miles each way.
Wow.
So I went to Loma Linda because they were going to start 12-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel called, and they never did while I was there, but Joel called me up, and he said, well, I'm going to 12-hour shifts. Do you want to come back? And I said, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you went back.
I've been on 12-hour shifts for a long time.
Definitely. But I like it also because, in 1 week, you only work 3 days or 4 days.
Right.
You just,
Exactly.
Put all your days together, or work here one time, work here, so you can able to balance your schedule properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going back as being a night supervisor, what was your toughest decision that you ever made?
One of the toughest things for me There were, several times, parents were the hardest to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times that a particular parent didn't want a particular RT to take care of their child.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really hard for me to, it wasn't really a decision because the parent wanted it, they're going to get it. But to tell that RT that you can't take care of this patient, especially when I knew that RT and I had complete confidence in them, in their work, that this parent didn't want you there. And that was pretty hard. Some of the times they would say, oh, okay, I don't care. I don't want to take care of it, but a lot of times I'm sure it was hurtful to them.
Yeah, definitely. Because most, we love what we're doing, and that's why, first of all, we work with kids, and it really takes a special skill to work with kids and to deal with kids. That's why some people leave right away, or some people come back because they want that special niche. And and not only you're dealing with family members, but in particular the parents, who are very protective of their kids. So I completely understand it. I've seen it a few times, at work. And that's definitely like a really, really good answer. I remember, I just want to like tell a story, like a memorable story that I had with you. Was it was flu season. We were working like horses. Like it was really crazy, and we have like really tough loads, and in the middle, for us at work, in the middle of the night, you being a supervisor, you have to reassign our loads in our assignment to balance things out. And then before the start, like the first hour, you would usually, do your rounds, and you walk around and you say hi to everybody. And then I made a joke that I was like, Larry, we're so busy right now. I hope you buy us some pizza. Like, you better buy us pizza for dinner because we're working our asses here. And then next thing you know, I got a call for you and be like, oh, there's a pizza at the department. Go and get some. Wow, I'm just kidding, but thanks, Larry.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. But not like seeing you as my former supervisor, I really appreciate all these little things that you do, and you appreciate us, and you make sure and you check that we make sure we're okay. And even though you're not technically a bedside clinician, I have another story, but I have stories with you. But like for example, when I was in ED a few years ago, and I was new, and it was 4th of July, there was a kid that blew his fingers off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the most memorable traumas I have ever had.
Yeah. So basically, guys, it was 4th of July. I was the emergency department therapist for the night, and Larry was my supervisor. And we had like a 12-year-old, like an 11-year-old that blew his fingers from fireworks, basically, and lost maybe like 5 or like half of his fingers. And I remember that particular moment, and I called you, and you were there. You were inside a room, and you were helping me, and it was a very collaborative work, and I really, really appreciate that, because not only you're a supervisor, but when your people need help, you're there. So yeah.
I do remember that one. That's something that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah, me too.
That hand.
Me too, man. So what about you, Larry? Let me ask, I'm very curious. Do you recall any memorable or crazy experience that you encountered as a therapist or as a supervisor?
Yeah. Well, there was a teen patient, and he, trach patient, he got decannulated. It was up on the floors.
Oh, wow.
And I guess one or two, the physician had tried to recannulate him and wasn't able to, and kid's getting really blue. And I took the trach, and I was able to recannulate and get it in for him.
Nice.
And I think it was the next day or something, the patient actually said to me, "Thank you, you saved my life."
Aww.
And so that's a good memorable one.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that this is why I love being an RT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
didn't expect to hear anything like that from him, but yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. So moving on, you've worked as a supervisor and as a leader for many years, and you've seen people come and go. What are the best qualities, or just the qualities in general, that you're looking or you look for in order to be a successful therapist?
I like to see people who will treat their patients as people and not as the trach in room 2, the heart in room 5. Adaptability. Things are always changing for workloads or patient needs or emergency calls. So somebody needs to be adaptable and caring about the patients.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You definitely hit a lot of targets there. And, I also like those qualities when I also work with my colleagues. It will be nice if, they're adaptable and they have all those things. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. So now that we talked about the respiratory side, first of all, I want to congratulate you for losing 65 pounds and reaching your Weight Watchers goal. And not only that, you also mentioned that you're off 3 out of your 4 health medications.
Right, yeah, 2 out of 3 diabetes meds and blood pressure meds.
Wow, that's really big steps.
Yeah,
so,
that's been great.
Yeah, so that must have been a great discipline in your end.
Yeah, it was. I finally decided it has to be done. Probably not working night shift anymore and having the food all around the hospital helped. I used to be on rounds and I knew where all the food was in all the places you walk. Or people would call me and say, "Hey, we're having a potluck here. Come on." And there's always food around. It was kind of hard not to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I finally got determined, and being home and retired now, I get to do a lot more cooking, and I've got some Weight Watchers cookbooks, so I cook from that, and we eat really good. And so can eat anything I want, but you just have to kind of watch it, and so it's worked for me.
That's great. And like I mentioned earlier, even though you have the beard, I can still see the weight loss in your face, even though you don't have the facial hair, and you're looking great and feeling healthy. And besides cooking, what are the things that you've been doing lately now that you're retired?
Well, one of the things I've always wanted to do, I've always liked going out fishing. But now I'm doing what's called long range fishing.
Oh, okay.
I go out on the boats. I just got back a couple of weeks ago from a 10-day trip.
Nice.
So the boat leaves out of San Diego on a 10-day trip and, travels way down south. And so a lot of good fish, a lot of good fishing, and living on the boat for 10 days and eating really well and a lot of good fishing. So, I love doing that.
Nice. So what happens when you catch, like I've seen pictures of you having big, huge fishes. They're not like tiny ones, they're ginormous. So what do you do with them? Like, I'm curious.
Well, on the boat, they keep it in the hold that's refrigerated ice ice cold water.
Mhm.
So they keep the fish fresh. And then from the boat, we drop there's three, down in San Diego, there are three fish processors. So you can use any one of them. And they take the fish, they keep it cold immediately. And then they, fillet it and cut it up and vacuum seal it.
Oh.
And then they freeze flash it down there for you. And then I go back and pick it up, and it's already in meal-sized pieces, all filleted and vacuum sealed, and ready to go.
Okay. So where was this your hobby and your love for fishing? Like where did it started?
My father used to take me fishing when I was real young.
Oh,
I
nice.
started fishing with my father.
Wow, nice. So do you miss anything from work besides, now that you're retired and you have a lot of free time in your hands?
I do miss the people, the staff,
Huh?
and staff and friends. I miss the potlucks.
Mm-hmm.
They were fun. And I do miss taking care of the kids. Taking care of the kids, seeing them coming sick, and working with them throughout, and then seeing them get better and walk out, or being carried out in their, or out in their stroller or something. That was always rewarding. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
happy to be retired, though. I'm enjoying it. I worked for a long time, and I guess I deserve it. And when COVID first started, I was almost feeling really bad about being retired. I knew what everybody was going through, my friends and staff, and being real busy and working, and I kind of was having a hard time not being there to be there for you guys. But knowing that at my age I shouldn't be,
Right.
But
yeah, well, we miss you at work too. Sometimes we talk about, oh man, this is so Larry. This is what Larry would do.
well, maybe one of these times after COVID, I'll come back in and visit.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been wanting to come back and visit for quite a while.
Yeah, I remember with Rosie, I can't remember what happened, but I literally told her, was like, you're being a Larry right now. She was like a shift supervisor, and I was just like, yeah, that's something Larry would do. You're being a Larry right now. Yeah, but yeah, we miss you. So we're running.
You guys too.
Yeah, we're running out of time right now. But before we end the interview, I'd like to ask, is there any advice that you would like to share or pass along?
I wrote a little something.
Yeah.
What I wrote: never forget to talk to and or treat your patient like a person with respect and dignity, and never lose your humanity. The patients are people first, not the heart in room 2 or the kidney in room 5. Just remember they are people, and treat them like so. Treat them according, like you want your child or you to be treated.
Definitely. That's a really, really good piece of advice, and it's something that, like we can definitely relate to and carry it along in our career. Well, Larry, we're out of time. Thank you so much for taking your time. And even though you're not a bedside therapist anymore, happy Respiratory Care Week.
Thank you. You too. Wish everybody the same for me, please. Say hi to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, and best of luck with you. And don't forget to keep in touch.
All right. Thank you, Paz.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.